tonight's
This is
Effingham
a special
County Board
presentation from
primary
KJ Country
I'd like to welcome
102.3.
everybody on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, the Effingham County Farm Bureau, and the Elks Lodge, who are our primary sponsors, as well as our media sponsors, the Effingham Totopolis News Report, the Effingham Daily News, Premier Broadcasting, and the Cromwell Radio Group. So thank you to all of our sponsors for making this night possible. My name is Eric Zeller, and I'll serve as moderator for this evening's forum. And we want to keep this as a forum, as an informational session for those who are in attendance tonight, as well as those who will be picking this up on social media or tape delay on the radio. So you can catch this if you're not able to attend tonight on kjcountry.com as well as effinghamradio.com. And also I've been informed that it will be on the Chamber's website at effinghamcountychamber.com on their YouTube page. So many opportunities to come back and listen to the information if you weren't able to make it tonight. So thank you all in the crowd for being here. Look forward to a good evening. Just a little bit about how the evening will work. We have 6 to 7 questions based on how our time frame runs. But each question will be posed to the candidates, and we will start down here to my right. And Mr. Kingler will have the first response on the question. We'll work our way down. And then the second question will go to Mr. Petty, and we'll work our way around like that. Candidates, as I said, will have 1 minute to respond. There will not be a rebuttal opportunity for the questions, but I did inform them if they would like to take a little bit of the time from their next question, they could certainly address something that's already been stated. So I do have candidate bios that I will walk through. These bios were submitted, and we condensed some of them down into something we can make in to keep our time frame to an hour. Because I know they would like to share their thoughts with you directly. So these bios are by way of the districts. District H, I will mention, is incumbent Rob Arnold. And Rob is not participating in tonight's forum because District H is an unopposed race. So Rob Arnold is running in District H. The District A candidates, to my far right is Gerald Kingler. Gerald has owned and managed King's Construction for 32 years and has also driven a special needs bus for the past year. Gerald has served on the board of the Effingham Habitat for Humanity, supervised volunteers, including the construction trades class in building the Fish Services building on South Maple Street, and served on the Effingham or the Sacred Heart School Board and Building Committee. He has served as president of the Effingham Area Home Builders Association, the Illinois High School Rodeo Association Board, and on the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Gerald and his wife Susan have 5 children and 6 grandchildren. That is District A candidate Gerald Kingler. Next to Gerald is Eric Petty. Eric is the local business owner and senior sales and operations executive with 40 years of experience in leading and motivating teams to achieve success. He has held leadership positions for Fortune 500 companies in aerospace, automotive, and fluid power industries to privately held startup and entrepreneurial organizations. Eric graduated from Effingham High School and served in the U.S. Army. He holds a BS in aeronautics and an MAS in aeronautics operations. Petty is a member of the American Legion and a life member of the VFW. He and his wife Susan reside in rural Effingham. That is District A candidate Eric Petty. Seated next to Eric is Norbert Saltwedel. Norbert is retired from the USDA as county supervisor of the Farmers Home Administration, providing funding for and later worked as a staff appraiser. He continues to work as a real estate appraiser in South Central Illinois. He is a lifelong farmer, working alongside his brother and family in the Shumway community. Saltwedel has held a number of leadership positions in local, state, and national organizations, and has volunteered for several missions and agricultural service projects in at least 10 countries, currently leading a Rotary project in Uganda. He is a Rotarian, a member of Faith Lutheran Church in Shumway, and on the South Central Illinois Regional Planning and Development Commission, and president of the Central Illinois District Lutheran Laymen's League. He and his wife, Linda, have 3 grown sons and 15 grandchildren. That is District A candidate Norbert Saltwedel. Seated next to Norbert and moving into our District E candidates is John Perry. John is the owner of Cornerstone Wealth Management and a Summit Township trustee and Summit 3 Precinct Committee person. He is a member of St. Anthony Church, and he and his wife, Abby, live in rural Effingham. That is District E candidate and incumbent for the district, John Perry. Our other District E candidate, Mike DePoister, is unable to be with us this evening as he is traveling out of the country. But Mike did send, he is a former board member of the Effingham County Board, and he is the owner of Tri-Power Towing here in Effingham. Moving to our District F candidates. District F, Jeff Simpson is the incumbent there and is not seeking re-election this year. But next to me is Elizabeth Houston, and Elizabeth serves as office manager at a financial services company, is a licensed insurance agent, business owner, and part-time police officer. She is precinct committee person for Mound 3, a member of Bethlehem Lutheran Church and the WED Association. Her family businesses have been involved in the Lake Sarah Dam Run, Law Enforcement Torch Run, and the Effingham County Fair. Elizabeth and her husband Adam have 3 children and reside in Altamont. That is District F candidate Elizabeth Houston. Seated next to Elizabeth is Bruce Kessler. Bruce has worked as an administrator of the State of Illinois Personnel and Labor Relations Board for 22 years and was an agent and representative for the Pennsylvania Railroad for Effingham County for 16 years. Bruce was a real estate associate for 41 years. He developed the largest mobile home park in Effingham and later the largest subdivision at Lake Sarah. Kessler's hobbies include model trains, and he has played country music in the area for over 50 years. Kessler has been married to Mary Jo for 65 years, has 4 children, 9 grandchildren, 9 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild. Bruce resides in Altamont. That is District F candidate Bruce Kessler. And seated next to Bruce is Jeremy Daters. Jeremy is the assistant general manager at Gabby Goat and is a first sergeant at the 1544th Transportation Company of the Illinois Army National Guard in Paris. He has been in the Guard for 19 years and has served 3 tours of combat duty. He is a member of St. Francis of Assisi Parish, a lifetime member of VFW Post 1769, a lifetime member of Enlisted Association of the United States, and a board member of Leanne's Legacy. Daters is single and lives in rural Montrose. That is District I candidate Jeremy Daters. Seated next to Jeremy is candidate Joseph Taylor. Joseph is the incumbent in District I. He is a graduate of Teutopolis High School and served 2 years in the U.S. Army before returning home to run the family farm. He is a member of St. Francis of Assisi Parish, Teutopolis Knights of Columbus, Teutopolis American Legion Post 924, Effingham County 40 and 8, Voiture 1439, and Effingham County Farm Bureau. Joseph has served as a St. Francis Township trustee for 14 years. He and his wife Julie have 2 daughters and reside in rural Teutopolis. That is your incumbent candidate from District I, Joseph Taylor. So I want to thank all of our candidates for being here this evening and taking the time to not only be here, but also put yourself out there to run for county board. I know it's the commitment is a tall one, and we hope you have the best of success. So again, tonight's forum, we will do as many questions as we can get through, starting down with our first question going to Gerald Kingler. And as we, again, Norma, or Julie, looks like has the timer for us. So the candidates will receive again, a minute to respond. They'll have a 30-second card will flash, and then a 10-second card will flash, and we will do our best to keep responses to a minute. So our first question, what do you understand are the responsibilities of a county board member? Jerry?
Well, I've went to several county board meetings, and basically the county board oversees, the sheriff's department. They do the ambulance and the court, all the courts building and the county road part of it. But basically, I see my job as I would be coming in to represent the people in my district and make sure that we don't make changes and infringe on their rights. Different people have different feelings about what the county should be doing. We don't want to overstep our bounds. With a lot of my area is a rural area, and we don't want to overstep our bounds with going out there and doing things that some of the rural people don't abide by.
Thank you. That was candidate Gerald Kingler, your District A candidate. And Eric, moving on to you. If at any time any candidate needs a question repeated, please let me know.
That would help. The responsibility of the board would be to oversee the various agencies that support the local community within the county. Most of that deals with budgets and reconciliation of revenues to expenditures and making sure that those things are in line with the expectation of the community. Obviously, representing the constituents of our particular districts and dealing with different situations that come up, whether it be regulatory in nature or emergent in nature.
Thank you. That was candidate Eric Petty. And we'll move on to Norbert. Norbert?
The primary duties are legislative as well as executive office of the county. As has been said, they are going to administer the various funds. There's like 30 or 40 funds that are kept within the budget of the county. There are a number of committees that are part of the board that meet with specific duties over various responsibilities that the county has. They would pass ordinances possibly but I think the biggest role of the county is probably public safety and our roads, as well as the administration of the money.
Thank you. That was candidate Norbert Saltwedel. And we'll move on to District E candidate John Perry. John.
Of course, I currently sit on the county board, and we do oversee the budget for the county. That's one of the biggest or primary roles, is to make sure that money gets adequately spent, and we have accountability. Our second role, and besides doing the budget and making sure that each department gets funded at an adequate level, is to make sure that we have accountability of each one of those departments and that the money was spent as it was intended. I think we also have a role when it comes to the constituents whenever we have a grassroots effort like we have a number of times over the course of the last 3 years, where constituents have brought issues to us where they like to send a message up to the state and federal governments to let them know how we feel here at the local level. And I think we've done a pretty adequate job of that too. So, and a lot of them are correct. We do pass ordinances and those types of things on a regular basis. And I got it right.
Thank you. That was incumbent candidate John Perry. And the question we're answering is, what do you understand of the responsibilities of a county board member? And we'll move over to my left here with Elizabeth Houston, the county F candidate. Elizabeth?
I believe the county board has a lot of duties. And my main point is actually keeping the board accountable as far as spending and keeping within a budget. So as a board member, I would be the voice for the citizens within my district.
Thank you. That was candidate Elizabeth Houston from District F. And we'll move on to Bruce Kessler. Bruce?
Thank you, and thank the Chamber for setting this up. And it's good to see all the other aspirants here for the county board. I'd like to say the board is made up of 9 members, and each of us that would happen to be the lucky winner to gain a seat there, we all have different backgrounds, and we have different ideas and things of that nature. And when things come up, then we need to use the philosophy of success, which just outside the city of success lies a little city of compromise. And this is one thing that I hope we can do on the board, is to reach the best decisions for the county and Altamont that I would represent. And I'd like to say more about taxation. That's one thing that I really am concerned about, and we'll get into that maybe later if we get to speak about that. So there's one important thing that you should know, so stay tuned, because when you hear this, your eyebrows will go up. Thank you.
That was candidate Bruce Kessler from District F. And now we'll shift sides of the county over to our candidates from District I, and we'll start with Jeremy Daters. Jeremy?
It's my my understanding that the county board legislative body.
We'll go ahead and restart Jeremy's time, please. We're answering the question, what do you understand in the responsibilities of a county board member? And got our microphone all in order now? Now we'll roll.
So, yeah.
All right.
It's my understanding that the county board acts as the legislative body of the county. So basically, my responsibilities, should I be elected, would be to represent my constituents over in District I to the best of my ability. I have experience overseeing government budgets and overseeing government contracts and things of that sort from my time in the military. And I would like to bring that experience to the board and just be a moral, good legislator for the people that I represent.
Thank you. That was candidate Jeremy Daters from District I. And we'll move on to his left to Joseph Taylor. Joseph?
Yeah, the first thing I believe that the county board should be is approachable, accessible, and be responsible to the citizens of their district. They need to have a financially sound budget that they can give to the department heads so they can work with that when they work with the citizens of the county to meet their needs. They need to be, they appoint committee members to such as 708, 377, 911, ambulance oversight, and they also need to work with other government entities, whether it be federal or state or even local. Thank you.
Thank you. That was candidate Joseph Taylor from District I. At this time, we'll certainly give you an opportunity as we come around for the question, the next question. Our second question will be leading off with Eric Petty and moving our way down. And that question is, if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years? So if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years? Eric?
What I'd like to see changed, basically, just people working together, getting the job done, representing the people. And not that that hasn't been done, but, to a greater degree, looking at the ways of saving money rather than passing on the various tax increases that have been coming. I'd like to see some effort put into real estate and property tax issues being addressed. As people leave the state, it's becoming more and more egregious to those remaining here that pay the bills. So to me, it's all about the money and dealing with the various aspects of that affect the board. So,
thank you. That was candidate Eric Petty answering the question, if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years? And we'll move on to Norbert Solway.
Well, I have said that I don't really have an agenda other than to try to be responsive to the needs and the interest of the citizens. So I felt like the current board is doing a pretty good job. The thing that I feel we have to do is be very open. We have to get more people to participate in government other than those who just want something. We need to get ideas from all parts of our county to solve some of the problems that we have. And so I think that participation would be my primary goal for the board, get other people to participate.
Thank you, Norbert. And we'll move on to John Perry. John?
Well, what I'd like to see happen over the next 2 years, since we're all only going to be in this role for 2 years until the next election. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see the voters take a more active role in making some of the decisions at the county level. And what I mean by that is I'd like to see us put on the ballot the PTEL, the property tax extension limitation law, to let the voters make a decision on how our property taxes are going to be decided going forward in terms of the amount of increase. So that kind of piggybacks on what Eric said and on both what Norbert said too, in terms of the communications with the public, and let them have a more active role in our decision making at the county board level.
Thank you. That was candidate John Perry. And we'll move on to Elizabeth Houston. Elizabeth?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, the question is, if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years?
I would like to see lower taxes and keep the county board accountable as far as spending and keeping within the budget. And I'd also like to allocate more funds equally within the line items as well.
Thank you. That was candidate Elizabeth Houston. And we'll give Bruce an opportunity to respond to the question. Bruce?
To respond to her question or the one yours?
The one I posed, which was, if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years?
Okay. One of the main reasons I wanted to seek this seat, it was vacant. And I've been around the county for darn near all my life. And I came by this knowledge from a sitting board member that we'll say once you get your tax bill, and we just paid those not long ago, that generates a lot of money over here, for a pile of money for the county board to supervise, to go out, because you got all these people over here that are demanding the money, which they're entitled to, districts, school districts, fire districts, whatever. But if that money that is generated over here is not as high as this over here, then there's a shortfall. Well, the county has used a little known thing to the public, which transparency is something that should prevail, and that is like a 4 to 5% increase without going to the public for a vote on it. And
Bruce, I hate to cut you off, but we're going to have to move on.
I got to finish just a second here.
Well,
there's this tax creep that we're getting into with this 4% that comes up. And I think that's something the county board should watch, because this becomes a compound tax increase.
We appreciate that. We're going to
thank you.
Move on to our next candidate, which will be Jeremy Daters. And we're answering the question, if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years? Jeremy?
I would like to see some of the county policies change to increase business on the outer areas of the county. Myself, I live in the rural area of the county. And it seems like a lot of development and monies are going towards the central city, but there is room for development in communities like Teutopolis and Montrose and Diederich and other things like that will actually increase people moving toward the area instead of moving away. So I would like to see a more business-friendly environment that will give incentives for people to come in and fill the districts and increase the tax revenue by people instead of by raising taxes.
Thank you. That was candidate Jeremy Daters, and we'll move on to Joseph Taylor. Joe?
One thing I think the county is doing, I think the county needs to know their role, the county government or county board needs to know their role in county government. We are kind of drifting away from that just a little bit. We need to stick with Effingham County issues. And there's a referendum on the ballot. I think the process is wrong on that. That is on now. And that is probably my biggest concern. We need to worry about Effingham County, their problems and issues. And we are not any other county. We're not running for state legislature. We're not running for U.S. Congress. We're running for the county board.
Thank you. That was candidate Joseph Taylor. And we're going to slide down here to my far right. And Gerald Kingler will be our final candidate answering the question, if you are elected, what would you like to see changed in county government in the next 4 years?
The first major change, I'd like to see myself get elected to the board. I'd like to see a lot more openness at the county level. The county board minutes and agendas need to be easily accessible on the county website. I'd like to see the meeting times be a little later so that people that work during the day could come. Right now, the meetings are at 4:00, so you're catching the people that go to second shift can't come, and the people that first shift aren't off yet. So I think it'd be better if we could get the meeting times a little later in the evening. I'd like to see more done at the county board meeting instead of at all the discussion being at the committee meetings. And right now, a lot of times you go and they pass a proposal and you have to go look in the envelope to see what that proposal is unless you went to the committee meeting. Then that should be read at the county meetings.
Thank you. That was Jerry Kingler answering giving the final response to that question. We're going to move on to our third question now. And our first respondent for that will be Norbert Saltwedel. And that question is, what would your priorities for county spending be for the next 2 years?
These are tough questions. Not having served on the board and not fully aware of all of the needs and demands, it's really difficult to say, because I guess I take the approach that I want to study the issues thoroughly. I want to know what his needs are. I know we have revenue coming in from various sources. We have property taxes. We have income taxes. Sales taxes. We have a lot of sources of money, and where that money gets spent, I'm sure there's two hands looking for every dollar. So it's going to be a tough call. And I'm just like everybody else. I think the taxes are too high, but I also know that it takes money to operate the government. So where the money should go, public safety is always very important. Our roads and the county bridges and things of that nature are going to have some attention, but we may have to develop some new programs with industry. That's where I would like to see us work with some industry to come up with programs.
Thank you. That was candidate Norbert Saltwedel. I'll move on to incumbent John Perry. John?
This has been one of the things since I've been on the board that I've been focused on is prioritizing spending. I think a lot of times, and in my thing to the paper, I even said, the culture of spending needs to change because we keep doing things the way that we've always done things. And so what I mean by that is we don't take opportunities to look for savings whenever we always fund it at this level, and they get their automatic increase at the 4.99, which I hear every single time we come to budget meetings. And I've come up on two different occasions in the last budgeting cycle since I've been on there with ways that we could save several $100,000 without affecting one person's job or their raise. And they've been shot down every time. So I'm hoping if we get some new blood on the board that maybe we can get some of those changes made where we can save some money. And I do believe that in terms of the spending prioritization, they've been leaving mental health and developmentally disabled behind. And so we've started to correct that this last time, and I hope we continue to go down that path.
Thank you. That was candidate John Perry, and we'll move to Elizabeth Houston. Elizabeth?
I would like to be informed of the funding issues, budgeting, and expenditures. Like John said, he actually looked at the budget and actually studied it. I was one that actually sat down with him, as well as others that went through the budget and found different ways that you could cut costs. And like he said, you wouldn't lose a job here in Effingham County. It's just smart spending. And as a business owner, I'm one of those that you have to sit down and look at your budget. So that would be my main issue as far as the budget and smart spending.
Thank you. That was Candidate Elizabeth Houston. And we're going to move on to Bruce, and we're answering the question, what would your priorities for county spending be for the next 4 years? Bruce?
Okay. As I think about Effingham, there's about 500 square miles. There's 34,000 people. There's 15 townships, 2 cities, and 8 villages, with some villages doing better than others. But when you look at the overall picture of Effingham, it's a very thriving and has a dynamic force for economic interest. Now, one thing I wanted to bring out real quick as the clock ticks, I think we should really look at where we are as far as enticing more heavy industry into here. At one time, World Color popped in here, and for a few years, they're gone, but there's several people walking around Effingham that are retired from World Color. We have a short line railroad down here that has several hundred acres back in there to develop. And I'd like to see us, the county, spend money in that realm to try to entice heavy industry back to where we can provide jobs for the next future generations that's coming along. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. We'll move on to Jeremy Daters. Jeremy?
My priorities for spending would be, first and foremost, the roads. If any of you live on the outer edges of the county, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You could lose a Volkswagen and some of those things. Public safety is a big deal, too. We need to support our law enforcement and make sure that we have the safe community that we've all grown up in and appreciate. And then infrastructure, going along with what my neighbor here is saying, absolutely, we need to entice more business into the area. So if we got to invest rather than spend money, I guess I'd rather say that. To get these big industries back in here, it is a big deal because we have a good economy here. We're lucky for being downstate to have the amount of money that we do, and we need to keep pushing the future to make sure that stays the norm and is not just a fluke.
Thank you. That was candidate Jeremy Daters, and we'll move on to Joe Taylor. Joe?
I think one of the biggest things is going to be law enforcement. With marijuana being passed in the state, we may have some issues down here with watching or helping try to take care of that, and we need to help law enforcement because they're going to have some issues with this marijuana. One thing I will say, I am proud of the county board that did not, one person passed to approve, or everybody voted to not approve the sale of marijuana in this county, and I'm really proud of that. Another one is the roads. I sit on the highway committee, road and bridge committee, and we need good roads. We help the townships out quite a bit by giving them advice, and then financially maybe a little bit, help them with the culvert here and there with bridge aid petitions. And we did a culvert inventory with the townships that I think helped out the townships quite a bit, and also helped out the county with culverts underneath roads, if they were good or not.
Thank you, Joe. And we'll move over to my right here with Gerald Kingler. Jerry?
Well, with priorities and spending, I think we've got to look first where some of our money is coming from, and a lot of it's from property taxes and different things like that. And I'd like to see us work with the state, or try to get the state to reduce or do away with property tax. I know I'm kind of dreaming with doing away with what we got up there now, but if we need lower taxes, and if we just lower property taxes and fund schools a different way like they're talking, the property taxes are going to just creep right back up. some priorities we're going to have in spending, with minimum wage going up to $15 an hour, we're going to have to tighten our belts a little bit because our payroll is going to go up, because you can't continue paying good county employees what they're getting when minimum wage goes up to $15 an hour. They're also going to need a raise to go up.
That was candidate Jerry Kingler. And we'll move on to our final candidate to answer this question, Eric Petty. Eric?
Yeah, the things I'd be looking at initially, just from a budgetary standpoint, would be our public safety, obviously our first responders. That would be fire, police, and health, and clearly the roads, as was explained just a second ago. But also, as other people have said up here, part of the problem is how we do this and have done it all these years anyway. We've got to be able to bring more revenue into the state, into our area, so that we can look at increasing the pie, so to speak, rather than continually increasing taxes just on the individual basis. Manufacturing, bringing that back in. Part of what I've done in the past is recovery of companies that are distressed. And as that starts to come back now, we need to attract those here. That increases our work base, increases our tax base, and helps us address the needs that we're talking about here right now.
Thank you. That was candidate Eric Petty. And we'll move on to our final question of the evening. And that question will be led off by John Perry. And the question is, the county's ambulance contract with Abbott EMS will expire during the next county board term of office. Do you plan to open up the contract to any interested vendors when renewal talks begin? Why or why not? John?
Absolutely. I think we shouldn't have signed the contract that we did. I was one of the lone votes against it. I thought it restricted us as a county to one provider when we could have had competition, and we could have also had additional ambulance services in the area for transfers and to respond to emergency calls. And so I thought that at that particular time, it would probably lead us into a lawsuit, which the county's currently in. And I advised against it, and I think it ought to be reopened. I don't think the contract wasn't adequate either. It was only a few pages long. I brought several specimen contracts from other areas, and they're 30 or 40, sometimes 50 pages long, with a lot of requirements on how they're supposed to respond to calls, the amount of time it takes to get to a call, and penalties for not doing so. So I think that it should be reopened. I think we ought to take a look at it, and we ought to invite other vendors. They didn't give other vendors even a chance to bid on that. I called several of them on my own and found out they were never even informed of it in the area, and they could have provided the service and had the ambulances to do it at the time, and were never even brought into the process. So yes, I think we ought to open that back up.
That was candidate John Perry. And we'll move to Elizabeth Houston. Elizabeth?
This is going to be one of my topics later on in my closing, because I've had numerous individuals in my districts express their concerns on a few slow responses to scenes, and as well as reports on zero statuses throughout the county, and them having to call in a county, I think it's Jasper County, that comes over to cover the calls. So I would like to bid it out and research providers in this area as far as who's available, who can take care of the clients that they're going to be taking care of. I believe safety is the number one key in this point.
Thank you. That was candidate Elizabeth Houston. And we'll move on to Bruce Kessler. Bruce?
Thank you. Well, studying all the different aspects of Effingham County and what the issue is at hand, I just want to cite for your information, there are 49 cemeteries in Effingham County. Obviously, those people can't vote or express their opinion about anything, but we certainly can. It took me about an hour and a half to get a ambulance service under this new group that we have now to go to Springfield. And that's ridiculous. And I agree that the bid should be open and we should search for the best of the best because we are the best. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Bruce Kessler. And we'll move on to candidate Jeremy Daters. Jeremy?
I have kind of a unique perspective on this because I used to be an EMT here in Effingham County. I would suggest that we reopen the bid because one reason only: the competition brings better quality care to the patients. As somebody who used to work in medicine, it's important to have all the available resources for your patients. Some people's insurance is covered by different services, things like that. So I think more is actually better as far as EMS and stuff like that goes.
That was Jeremy Daters, and we'll move on to Joe Taylor. Joe?
When this contract comes due, I do think we need to reopen it and at least look at it, give other vendors a shot or other ambulance services a chance to bid on this contract. Doesn't mean we will go with them, but I will say that one thing with Abbott, before Abbott come here, Teutopolis and the eastern part of the county, there was never an ambulance station there. And to help out with the calls on the eastern part of the county. So I am proud that Abbott is here to at least assist the people of this county.
That was Joe Taylor, and we'll move to my far right here, and Gerald Kingler will pick up the question. Jerry?
I totally agree with John and Angela and everybody else that said that we should reopen it. I think it needs to be reopened. Even if we renew a contract with Abbott, it totally needs to be rewrote. In my business, I've done most of my work has been done through contracting. I've contracted houses and businesses, and some of the contracts I wrote myself. A lot of them were wrote by lawyers, but a good contract will keep you out of the courtroom. And that's what we need to do. We need to rewrite that contract, get it opened up, get bids in from what we need to have provided for Effingham County, and see if we can save some money and get a new contract that we're not in the courtrooms all the time.
Thank you. That was candidate Gerald Kingler, and we'll move on to Eric Petty.
Well, I think we just came up with our first cost savings here, and that is putting that up for competition. Yes, I agree. I think we should do that. It should have been done in the very beginning. Competition breeds excellence, and that's what we need here in this town and in our county. So I'm all for that. I think we could do that. And you know, to other people's points about contracts and looking for the best bids and sharpening the pen on or the pencil on what we're looking for in the contract, the various details. Keeping out of court saves us money, and we've had a lot of court activity here lately.
Thank you. That was Eric Petty, and we'll move on to our final respondent to this question, Norbert Saltwedel. Norbert?
Well, first of all, I'm a conservative. I do not believe that government should do things that the private industry can do. Whenever you grant an exclusive contract to a company such as this, it's the same thing as if government was doing it. And it eliminates competition. It allows for the public to see something that doesn't look right, and it probably isn't right. And what we need is our county board to facilitate and help industry, but not give them a license as if they're part of the government. So I think that what we have here is a situation that, like as we've all agreed, should not have happened in the very beginning, way back when we gave the contract to the predecessor of the organization that we now have. So obviously we need to do something different.
Thank you. That was candidate Norbert Saltwedel from District A. And that concludes our question section of the forum for this evening. And we'll move on to our closing statements. And the candidates were pre-informed they would have 2 minutes to offer a closing statement. And since we started our questions to my far right, we're going to start our closing statements to my far left. So leading off the closing statements will be candidate I, Joseph Taylor. Joseph?
Thank you. I would like to thank the Effingham Chamber of Commerce, the Effingham County Farm Bureau for sponsoring this candidate forum. And I would like to also thank Effingham Elks for hosting this event. I have had the privilege of serving on the Effingham County Board for the past 7 years, representing the citizens of Teutopolis and St. Francis Townships. During that time, I have established a good working relationship with the department heads and the employees. I have demonstrated that I am easily approachable and want to gather information from all sides prior to making a decision on issues that affect Effingham County. I believe Effingham County is the envy of southern and south central Illinois. We have 2 interstates, 3 major highways, and several railroads passing through this county. We have the infrastructure of a big city, but maintain a small town atmosphere. We have great employees working for the county that help the needs of the citizens. We have a competent and professional sheriff's department and some of the best county roads in the state with some of the lowest highway levies in the state. Effingham County has the 3rd lowest general tax fund of the state's 102 counties. I want to be an active participant in seeing that trend continue. We have quality entertainment, food, and recreation for the people passing through, visiting, and living here. I hope the voters will research the candidates and issues in the local, state, and federal races because an informed and involved electorate makes for a thriving and prosperous community. Thank you for coming tonight and giving of your time, because the more familiar you are with the candidates and their issues, it shows that you are concerned for the future of Effingham County. Thank you.
Thank you. That was District I candidate Joseph Taylor giving his final 2-minute closing statement. And we'll move on to Jeremy Daters. Jeremy?
I also would like to thank the Chamber and the Elks Lodge for putting this event on tonight. It's been pretty informative. I'm running because I feel like I have a different perspective. I have voted for Joe twice in the past. I think he's a great guy, but I'm running for a position, not against someone. I truly believe that I have a unique perspective. I believe it's time for people in my generation to stand up and actually get their hands dirty in some of the work that's going on within the county, because it is our future and we need to have some skin in the game as well. There's a lot of people that want to see the continued growth of Effingham County, and I think that the way forward for that is to be very business friendly and to be welcoming for industry so that we get good paying high industry jobs that can keep coming into this area and keep the populace here, and we can move and grow from that.
Thank you. That was District I candidate Jeremy Daters with his final closing. And we'll move to our District F candidates and start with Bruce Kessler. Bruce, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. In studying what has been said here this evening by all these qualified people, I think we're going to wind up with a very good county board to oversee the county affairs by this new board. And I'm running because I want to represent Altamont. And I certainly want the folks that are listening out there, I need your vote. So that's primarily what I want to say. But, you know, in looking at some of the stats in Effingham County, at my age, I hope you don't use that against me, but I remember what Ronald Reagan said to one of the candidates. He said, "I won't hold your youth against me." So at any rate, you go down the scale to my age limit, 84, it shows there's about 500 people in the county that have my same age out of 34,000. But anyway, back to the things that are really important. I think we need to really look at the tax creep that goes on, because when this, like John Perry said, I think go up to 4.99 to increase the taxes without a levy. Now, this 4.99, that is that's something that the county board can do without consulting any of the voters. And as a result, I pulled my tax on a piece of property I have, and it was up 6%. Now, here we go, 10% here, so there, it keeps moving up. And you talk about our schools, we've got to really provide great education for these kids so that they can come on and take our spot in the world and in this county. It's a great county. Let's keep it that way. Thank you very much. Good night.
That was District F candidate Bruce Kessler giving his closing. And we'll move to Elizabeth Houston. Elizabeth?
I would first like to thank all those involved in making this event possible. A lot goes behind the scenes, as well as the day of, to prepare for an informative forum like this for the citizens of Effingham County. I personally feel it is time to bring a younger perspective to the Effingham County Board, and we must look to the future for our kids and grandkids. The children are the future. I will keep my district in mind by fighting to prevent higher taxes increases and unnecessary tax hikes. Many individuals and families lived on a fixed income, and the cost of living continues to increase. I would like to be more informed with the ambulance service. Like I had said, numerous individuals in my district were concerned. I feel other ambulance services should be welcome to operate in the county as far as private line calls and transfers. I'd also like to reduce any wasteful spending within the budget and hold the board accountable. By allocating more funds, I would like to help the 708 and the 377 boards to provide more assistance for mental health and the community support systems. I would appreciate the support from those in District F, and I wish the best of luck to all the candidates on March 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. That was District F candidate Elizabeth Houston on her final closing statement. And we'll move to my right with John Perry from District E. John?
I also would like to thank the Effingham Chamber and moderator and the Elks Club here for hosting the event, the forum. I'd like to also thank all the other candidates for participating this evening. In my closing, I'd like for everybody to remember this when you go out to the vote. There's three things. First, I will continue to hold the county board accountable for every dollar spent and prioritize spending and look for savings during the budget time. Second, I'll continue to fight for PTEL, which is the property tax extension limitation law, which limits the amount the county board can raise your property taxes to 5% or the CPI, the lesser of, without a referendum. They still could raise it more than that with a referendum, but then they have to come and ask you for the money. Third, I'd like to tell you that I'd work with state and local leaders to advance grassroots efforts that embody the Effingham County values. And I think we've done this quite effectively over the course of the last 3 years that I've been on the board. Thank you very much. Appreciate it if you'd vote for me.
That was candidate from District E, John Perry. And we'll move to our District A candidates and start with Norbert Saltwedel. Norbert?
Yes, I would agree. This is a good event, and certainly the people that put it on should be given a big vote of thanks. We need to find some way to get more people out to vote, more people involved in our government, and it actually need to have more faith in their government. So, we live in Effingham County where we're just fortunate to have some wonderful businesses, organizations, and people. People who work hard, who raise great families, who pour their hearts out to help other people when there's a need. We're blessed with an abundance of financial, educational, human resources that provide opportunities for economic and cultural enrichment. Many communities don't have this, but we do have this in Effingham County, and we need to take advantage of it. It would be my honor to serve on the board and try to do my part to make county government, local government, the best source of help to an individual. I think too many people go to the government for help. It's something we have to try to correct, because the role of government has to be to empower others to do things, to enable others to do things, not to do the things by the government. So that would be one of my primary goals. And one of the things I haven't mentioned is workforce development. As I drive around, I see a lot of help wanted signs. We have some people in Effingham County, I will say they're single mothers sometimes that would like to go to work, but they have to stay home and take care of their children, which is obviously a very, very important thing. But these people could be added to the workforce if we had more child care. I'm not saying that we should provide that from the county, but I think it's something that's got to be looked at and found a source of help. Well, I appreciate your willingness to support me if that's possible.
Thank you. That was District A candidate Norbert Saltwedel with his closing statement. And we'll move to Eric Petty. Eric?
I too would like to thank the Elks and the Chamber for putting on this event. I'd also like to thank the other two gentlemen here that are running for District A. I was unaware when I first put in for this that anybody was even going to run. Like other people up here, I consider this a civic duty and an honor to run for this. I mean, this is not a paying job or anything. It's a volunteer job to work for the community and serve your community. I'd like to see more involvement that way. I'd like to see more people getting involved in looking at and holding organizations like the board accountable to how the money is being spent and decisions being made and how people are being represented. I'm going to focus like a laser on taxes and cutting costs. My background's been process improvement and company turnarounds and that sort of thing. I did serve on the health board a couple of years ago that was in crisis. It was losing money to the tune of $200,000 a year. We were able to restructure that department, put it under new leadership, bring a new financial manager in there, and it is now on a cost basis, and it is actually generating more revenue now than it did at the time, and I consider it a success. I think Jeff Workman's doing a very good job in that as well. But the point is getting in and doing our jobs, being involved, and providing those gifts or tools or resources that we have to accomplish what it is we're trying to do. And this is represent our people. Identify how we can reduce taxes. We've heard it here a number of times. Taxes are too high. We need to figure out a way to bring in more money without socking it to the people that are staying in Illinois, because we are losing too many people. It's creating a bigger burden for everybody here. And working together as a community, we could get this done. And I'd like to represent District A in that bid.
Thank you. That was District A candidate Eric Petty with his closing statement. And we'll move to our final candidate for this evening, Gerald Kingler. Gerald?
And like everybody else, I'd like to thank the Chamber, especially Norma. She's been doing this for a couple of years, and I had the pleasure of being on the board with when Norma was running it back a few years back. And thank the Elks for hosting and all the media for being here. The media does a pretty good job, although I was at one county board meeting where I didn't see any media, and that was a little disappointing. I do think that I mentioned earlier about we need to get this stuff out on the website, and I do think if we don't start doing that, we're going to see a lawsuit in that area because it is the law that they have to do that. I also would like to thank the two guys I'm running against. I think they're both upstanding guys, and I'm glad they are running. If I do win, I'll consult them because I think they could be an asset to the county. And if they win, I will put a bug in their ear when I can. But I'm running because I believe in Effingham is a great community. And in my 30 plus years of running my business, I worked with and competed with other contractors and businesses on a daily basis. I have found that this area is blessed with great craftsmen and good, honest people. I'm very proud to be from this area, and it is because of the integrity of the people. I believe my experience in business and my knowledge of people and my knowledge of construction, will be beneficial to the people of the Effingham County. While Effingham County prospers and grows, we need to remember we are a rural agriculture area as well, and we need to protect and grow in harmony with the rural values and their way of life. I believe there needs to be more openness and honesty on the county board. I promise I will bring honesty and integrity and professionalism to the county board if elected. I ask you to please vote for Gerald Kingler in the Republican primary on Tuesday, March 17th.
Thank you. That was District A candidate Gerald Kingler giving his final 2-minute closing statement. And that concludes our remarks from our candidates this evening. And I want to thank them as we did at the opening. It's not easy getting up here. These candidates did not know the questions prior to this evening. So what you hear is their honest responses on the spot about how they will run our county. A very important task. I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce, the Effingham Farm Bureau, and the Elks Lodge for hosting this evening, as well as our media partners, Premier Broadcasting, Cromwell Radio Group, Effingham Topless News Report, and the Effingham Daily News. These questions came from our media sponsors. They worked together to come up with the questions this evening. And as Jerry concluded with his remarks, the primary vote is on March 17th. So I encourage you all to spread this word on social media. For those who couldn't be here tonight, it's going to be on kjcountry.com, effinghamradio.com, as well as on the Chamber's YouTube site. And you can find that at effinghamcountychamber.org. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thanks to those who are going to pick this up later. And once again, thank you to all our candidates and best of luck on Tuesday, March the 17th. Good night.
KJ Country 102.3 WKJT, Totopolis, Effingham.